Okay, so it says, I have another question. As it feels like I am in a weird space on the journey. Quick story, I went through intense ego death December 24 to May 25. After that, for about a month, I felt like nothing had a meaning. Everything just was. And from June until now, my purging has significantly decreased, and I started attracting opportunities of different kinds. I wasn't looking for anything, but these opportunities find me. Sounds like manifestation. Anyway, as these opportunities show up in my life, I am experiencing joy and happiness like I've never experienced before. Always struggled with low self-esteem and feeling of not being worthy of anything. Actually, I have not only suppressed my negative emotions, but it turns out the positive ones as well. I am allowing myself to feel happiness, which, by the way, feels so intense. It feels like I am on steroids, like I am on top of the world. Maybe that's silly, but I have actually never experienced happiness before. There's also pride showing and feeling of being special, but my mind tells me that this is not a part of the spiritual journey, that I should be expressing anger and sadness. Oh, that's interesting. It tells me that I am back to square one. I would love to know whether that's part of the journey as well, and also how to feel joy and happiness. I usually just feel into the feeling, and it is so intense, it feels like I will explode. Sometimes I can't even sleep at night. I also allow myself to scream. I've seen a lot of things about how to connect with sadness, anger, fear, but nothing about positive emotions as far as I know. Thank you. Well, I just want to reread it because there's a number of things that I can talk about. But yeah, just in general, that's actually really interesting because maybe we always talk about the negative stuff. And obviously there's a reason for that. Most of our issues are with the negative stuff. We don't want to feel them because it's so uncomfortable. But yeah, there are a lot of moments on the journey when there is this like insane happiness. You could call it ecstasy. You know, it really does. Some people think that it's like godly, that it's divine. Um, and I guess the thing that I would say is obviously to feel it, but you can play just like we talk about, feeling all the negative emotions, giving them attention. You can do the exact same thing with this. So whatever is exciting you, whether it's like music that you're dancing to, or even things that we would call egoic. So if you're fantasizing about living a dream life, or being able to, whatever is giving you the excitement, even if that excitement could be a little bit of like deep down it's suffering. So like let's say if you don't have what you want, and then you're dreaming about and like kind of jumping like a child, imagining it's about to come, I'm gonna have a better job or whatever it is. That excitement, give it all of your attention. And I want to keep saying in these Q&As that the actor analogy, becoming the actor, is like the best analogy for all of these experiences. So your mind could say, but am I going to jump up and down? That's ridiculous. But it's like, who cares? First of all, nobody can see you. You're going to be doing this at home probably. And you know, all of these things that we talk about are literally just this is already here. And so why not fully embrace it if it's already here and see how far I can take it. So I said with music, um, daydreaming, whatever makes that feeling become more intense, and therefore you're going to keep giving your attention, whatever you can do, do that so that you can feel all of that fully. And I just want to say the quote that I think is by Buddha, which doesn't sound fun to the ego, but that's okay. All feelings are pain. I think that's it. Or all feelings are suffering, something like that. Which means that deep down, this huge excitement that I've felt also many times, it's kind of like you can only feel excited if you're not peaceful. So if peace is kind of like a flat line, right? So it's like you could say if you feel peace all the time, that you're feeling good all the time. So why would you need a boost? So it's almost like if there's something that you're not liking, you're actually kind of not feeling well, and then you need the boost. So I just wanted to throw that in, that all feelings are pain.
Yeah, I was just gonna add a story that or an example that came to mind of my own. It was probably a couple of years ago, if not a bit more. But I was completely broke. and I found maybe like £2 worth of coins that I didn't realize that I had. And I did that exact thing, and it made me genuinely happy because I didn't have anything coming in for a while, I guess. And I behaved as if I had won the lottery, like really, like, like going into it. It sounds ridiculous because it's nothing, but I felt genuine happiness because of it, and I was like literally jumping up and down, like holding these coins and completely embodying it. Um, Very much like like you said about the character, we talk a lot about rage and getting to sort of the depth of what's available to you there, like saying things, punching pillows and whatever, and doing those things, not those things because it would be different for joy. Because joy is repressed very much as well. People who are numb completely repress that as well. And as you said, Steve, that the lows have their counterpart with the highs. They're a duality that exists and are interdependent on one another. So it can be expected that as many lows as you hit, there'll be the opposite side as well.
Yeah. And I just wanted to say one more thing. One way that joy has naturally arisen in me is it's kind of like, let's say I'm in the morning, and then I remember that at night I'm gonna watch this series that I'm really enjoying, and then there's this burst of excitement or joy. Um, so that's just one example. So if somebody can't really, visualize it. Um, yeah, I guess that's it. I don't know if anything to add. But just, oh, you said the joy is repressed a lot, and it definitely is. And I just wanted to stress that if you feel silly, and if you feel like, I don't know how old, 30, I'm 50, whatever your age is, and you feel silly to get so excited like a little kid, that's exactly then what you should be doing. So you face a little fear of
Yeah.
looking foolish, and also seeing how far can I take the joy. So if I jump or whatever you're doing, maybe you'll feel even more of it, and then there's a new experience. You felt into it a little bit deeper.
Yeah, I feel like embarrassment can be accompanied with like the expression of joy.
Mm.
Like you don't want to be seen being too happy or it's a very vulnerable thing to like be like really openly happy, and of course you don't have to do this in front of everyone, but you could push yourself not to an uncomfortable degree, but see how you respond to be like really jubilant, like over the moon, and see how much resistance there is to looking stupid or feeling silly or embarrassed or not allowed to, it's still one of the things that like parents will do to their children, as much as like, don't be angry or like don't express your anger. It's like don't show off, don't overreact, these kind of things. So yeah, well worth exploring just as much as anything else.
Yeah. And I'm sure there are parents, unfortunately, that say, like, there's nothing to be laughing about in this moment, right? Or something like that.
Yeah,
Why are
yeah,
you smiling so much? What's wrong with you? And then you learn to suppress it.
yeah. Because other people's joy can be triggering for, other
Yeah.
people. Did you want to touch on the manifestation part as well?
Okay, sure. I guess you have
Um,
something, right? And then maybe I'll think of something too.
um, yeah, I mean, it just makes me think of being in a state of resistance to what is often, I think, leads to decision making and actions that are counterproductive to a nice life.
Yeah.
You know, so when things are allowed to be, even if they're like externally horrible, by all accounts, when there becomes less when there is less resistance, then things seem to just loosen up. I wouldn't necessarily call it anything other than what it is. But um, again, I'm just thinking of my own life when I've sort of been in a state of extreme resistance to what is and blamed external factors for, it's all like my job or like these people or who I'm spending time around or even me and my thoughts, whatever, are making this unbearable. But then once the allowing comes, life just seems to kind of like get a little bit more in the flow of things. And I don't mean in any sort of magical sense. I just mean that there's more clear thinking. You can see more of what's actually happening rather than with this filter overview of resistance.
Yeah. And since you mentioned manifestation, I guess I can talk a little bit about that.
Mm.
I think the confusion with manifestation is first, there are so many people out there where manifestation seems to be absolutely like a scientific fact where they will visualize and then magically it appears. This sort of thing happens to people, right? It actually does. I've seen it with other people. But the I think the illusion is that, let's say that it's me and I've manifested whatever I want. The idea that always comes from the ego is that I'm the one responsible. Like I've got this power here. And when I use this power, I'm like, I want this, and there's my power, and I got it. And I think it's to kind of zoom out. It's almost like there's existence, there's this universe, whatever you want to call it. And then for you to think that you're somehow changing existence to like match what you want. Sometimes it seems that way, but I think what's happening is what was always going to happen. So it's almost like a synchronicity, which just means, you had this visualization or whatever, and you were already, that was always going to happen. And then it's also part of that person's journey to really experience that and believe that it's their power. It's a power that I have to get what I want. And so, what was the other thing I was going to say? Well, to bring it back to what you said, which is that when we think about manifestation a lot, it's because we're resisting where we are. But what I also want to say about that is that it's not your fault that you're resisting where you are. And what I've done many times, and I still do sometimes, is I've talked about playing the lottery, right? And thinking that I'm going to win money. And this is an interesting topic because it's very, very confusing. Some people would say if you keep playing, you're blocking it because you're not allowing it. You're very desperate, and that energy doesn't match, right? Having all this money. And that even may be true, right? Somebody that has a lot of money is not desperate because they already have it, and therefore that's how they would feel. But in the name of exploring all of your parts, what I do when that comes, and I notice it's getting smaller and smaller, but I say to myself, if it's still here, it's like a little kid, and I don't have a limit. I don't have like you can come up to me 10 times, 20 times, 50 times, but then if you come the next time, I'm going to ignore you. Every time. So sometimes it comes up and then it feels, I always say, like it's tugging at me, like you should buy one, you should buy a lottery ticket. And my mind says, like, do I still need to? Is this like, but if it's happening, I go and I buy it. And then when I don't win, guess what happens? Emotional release. Something moves, something happens. And so this whole manifestation thing creates so much fear that what if I hadn't done that? What if I'm like, oh, I'm not going to buy it so that I can show the universe that I'm like more allowing, that I'm not worried about it. But that's silly. What I'm interested in is becoming truly free, free of all of this suffering. And so I went and I bought the ticket. Maybe my mind plays, oh, it's going to be this time, it's going to be this time. And maybe there's some joy and stuff like that. It doesn't happen anymore, but it did in the process. And then when I don't win, there's the pain that I didn't want to face. And so you can play with all of these things and not be afraid that you're making a horrible mistake. Oh, should I do this? Should I do that? That's one of the things that I think the process frees you so much from, which is you feel kind of afraid, like, oh my God, if I do this, it's going to be a horrible mistake. If I do, there are no horrible mistakes, right? In terms of your emotions and things.
Yeah. And the again, it's also a question that you can ask of what is the ego, how is the ego benefiting from manifestation? You know, it's or why does it need to be there? Because of course to manifest is to deny right here, right now, the discomfort. You're saying I'm uncomfortable with how things are now, how I feel, so I want to manifest and be somewhere else, feel different, be different, have something else. And it's a blatant rejection of confronting the reality of the discomfort that's there to be looked at. Um, I was going to say one more thing about, um, I think it's gone.
It's funny because this is such a big topic. I
Yeah,
have like something else as well, and then because it could almost be a whole video just about manifestation. But
yeah.
what I wanted to say is I made a video. I think I even deleted it, I'm not sure. So whether you have an experience like someone that says, I manifest everything that I want all the time, it's just unbelievable. Oh, you want to do yours?
Well, I can hold on to it. I think I just remembered what it
Okay.
was.
Um, so yeah, it's gonna come back. Wait. Yeah, so I was saying, so imagine someone who is really having that experience, like everything is just coming to them, right? And then you have someone that nothing comes, sort of like me. And what's going to happen is when someone kind of gets everything that they want, right? They want a lot of money and you can buy so much stuff, you can travel. Um, what's going to happen is the same thing that's going to happen to the person that doesn't get what they want, which is if you are if it's already happening to you that you're kind of looking within, and then let's say you manifest all this stuff, you're going to notice, and at first you're not going to want to see it, that all of the stuff that you get doesn't really change the one thing that you want changed, which is you want peace. Peace is to feel safe within your body, it's to feel calm, it's to be able to enjoy the most ordinary things in life, right? And so there's this teacher that said, the ego goes into crisis whether it gets everything that it wants or it gets nothing that it wants. The same thing happens in crisis. Because if you get nothing that you want, you're being forced to be right here, right now. So if you don't have money, you don't have a partner, and nothing shows up, well, you're just forced back into the same thing. Loneliness, no money, all of these feelings. Well, what happens to the person that gets everything? At first, it seems like there's no more pain, right? You're just so excited and you're just playing with all the stuff that you have. But then once you start noticing that you're in the mansion that you wanted to have and you have everything that you could have ever imagined, and you wake up feeling a little bit like depressed, or you're like, this is boring. Yeah, people actually feel this way. That's why people are like, I'll never be bored when I have all the you will feel so bored once you get used to it. And so both scenarios lead to the same thing. So this is why don't believe people that are like, oh, I'm manifesting everything, so I've become a master. And then
Mm.
these people aren't, they know nothing. They don't know, they don't have the power yet. They don't get it. That's not how existence works, right? Everything is happening. It's sort of like, I mean, the word God, it's like everything that God wants is happening, and there's no little you with a power to change existence. It's just all happening, right?
Yeah. So yeah, what I was going to say just kind of mirrors what you were going to say, what you said, which is this path of being honest about your emotions and processing them doesn't lead to objectively better external circumstances. It doesn't lead to the things that you want necessarily, but what it does lead to is an external reflection of honesty. So you will the more that you are honest with your emotions and process them, you will start to have an environment and life that is a representation of that honesty. You won't be lying to yourself. And I don't mean that in like a you're lying to yourself where you can't help it until you see what's there. But say, for example, you have a relationship with someone that you know is very wrong for you on a deep level, but you haven't been honest about it yet. And you're with this person still. And then when you face that very, very difficult reality and process those emotions, you won't be able to be with that person anymore. It won't be possible. So this is what will happen. Now your external circumstance reflect that honesty. That person's no longer there. Maybe you're in a job that you haven't been able to be honest, that you absolutely hate to the pit of your stomach, and then you're able to do that, and that will result in you leaving that job because you simply won't be able to do it anymore. So these are the kind of external shifts that will happen. It doesn't mean that, oh, I've always wanted to live on a yacht and I've done my work and now would you look at that? I live in Hawaii all of a sudden. It's not that. But I guess a good illustration of this is that what uh will lead to happen is a more peaceful state no matter the circumstance. So you could find yourself in circumstances that you might not prefer, but your existence within them is not so conflicted and painful anymore. Um, yeah, I mean that is completely at odds with the general manifestation discourse of like I'm in a situation that I don't want, so I'm going to visualize and work myself up into a state that aligns with the things that I do want, which is completely ignoring all of this pain. Imagine you do this, you get to like a high vibration that's on the wavelength of something that you want, and then you attract these things, and so now you have them. But what happened to the emotions that were causing the discomfort? Where have they gone? They're still just in you and they're just waiting to explode at some point.
Yeah, and the last thing that you said is so true because if, every person has like a life path and different things happen to them. So I'm sure that some people are meant to experience things in a certain way. So someone that doesn't deal with any of the emotions and somehow they manifest everything. Th What didn't change is that feeling of I don't want to be where I am.
Yeah.
And this is people like most people in the world will just deny that this is true, but it's like if you have a feeling that I hate where I am, and then it doesn't go away, and you have everything that you could possibly want, that feeling will, it's like a pulse. You have everything around you that you want, and this pulse is, I don't want to be where I am. But I've got a mansion, I've got cars, I've got everything. I don't want to be where I am, which is I can't enjoy the now, I can't enjoy my life, right? Um, and I guess the final thing, so we can move on, is I don't want this to sound like the typical spiritual thing that says money is not spiritual. That's not what we're talking about. In
No.
fact, if you cry and you release all of the pain, you actually, if that were to happen to you, you just have money or whatever, actually that's when you'll be able to enjoy it. If you go to beautiful places, you won't be worried or you won't be on your phone instead of looking at the sunset and worrying about things, you'll be able to actually enjoy it. So, an enlightened person could actually be rich and enjoy it, but it's like at the same time that they can enjoy it, it's meaningless in the sense that they're not using that to escape anything. They're just, oh, here it is. If I lost it and I'm just in living a very simple life, there would be no suffering. So that's the difference. If it's there, great, I can enjoy it. I don't feel superior to anybody. I don't, nothing. And if I lost it, I'd be perfectly happy if it was an enlightened person. Okay.